The second layer.
The second layer.
About the second layer.
The second layer.
Layer 2. Layer 2 will be the most important update of Deepwoken's life, and y'all boys need to know why. The developers have a lot on their plate with this one. Right now, the current state of Deepwoken is that it's kinda dry. I'm not gonna lie to you. In my opinion, and I know y'all boys won't like this, the Trial of One and the PvP Arena update have genuinely killed Deepwoken. And I say this with caution because I know y'all boys are gonna flame me. The overworld content that made Deepwoken is no longer Deepwoken. When the game first came out, people were actually playing the game, exploring, ganking, having fun. Now, the risks that came with playing Deepwoken made Deepwoken. You have chances of getting ganked by anyone and everyone at any time, and it added to Deepwoken's uniqueness. It added to the play experience. It added to Deepwoken. With the Trial of One and the PvP Arena update, you don't even need to play the overworld content. As soon as you spawn in, you go to the Trial of One, and by the time you beat the Trial of One, you'll be about power 20, and from there you just go straight to the Songseeker Isles in order to get the PvP thing, and you just PvP until you're max level. That's genuinely what you can do. From PvP, you're going to be killing players, wiping players, and you're going to get stuff from the inventory. When you win, you get items, etc. You genuinely never need to step out the PvP zone. You don't even need to play the overworld content. This also means that even if Deepwoken was to add the overworld content, as in the extra luminance, another continent, people wouldn't really take in that update, wouldn't really take in the new content, because again, we have Trial of One and PvP Arena. So what would really be the reason to go around exploring these new continents at the fear of getting ganked by other players when you could just progress and get the best builds just through instance-based content? But I digress. That is genuinely going off topic, and that is not what we're here to talk about today. We're actually here to talk about Layer 2 and what it can offer to Deepwoken, and it has a lot to offer. Now, it is said that Layer 2 will have dungeons, and if dungeons aren't done right, it can actually just be a waste of time. It could be trash. So the first thing I want to say is revolveragz has been playing a lot, and I mean everybody's been playing a lot, of Elden Ring. And Elden Ring is genuinely one of the best games I've ever played. Like, I'm not over exaggerating. It's one of the most frustrating games I've ever played, but it's still one of the best games I've ever played. And just based off that, even revolveragz said himself that he's had a lot of inspiration from Elden Ring. However, I do want revolveragz to look into the realm of Zelda when it comes into dungeons as well. Zelda does a lot of things right, especially Breath of the Wild, when it comes to dungeons and dungeon instances. Being able to do puzzles that change the terrain, use elements in order to adapt how you move around the dungeon, etc. would actually be really nice in Deepwoken. Imagine you need a flame user in order to melt some sort of surface so that you guys can start climbing up it or go down it, or for instance use the mechanics we already have in game to make dungeons a little bit more engaging. Imagine like a giant ramp or a giant slide, and at the end of the slide, if you don't time your jump perfectly, you fall into the void and die or wipe. So you would have to actually play the dungeons properly. You need to be on edge. Maybe the dungeon's really dark and you need lamps, or you need some sort of torch or candle in order to see through the dungeon properly. There's a lot of things that can be done. Maybe a missing puzzle piece that you have to go through one side of the dungeon to get, and then you put it on some sort of button or something like that, and then it, I don't know, spawns in some sort of bridge you can cross over. There's a lot you can do with Deepwoken. I'm not gonna lie. Zelda is the perfect example of this, and even Elden Ring dungeons are kind of good, but I don't feel like they're on the same level as the way Zelda makes its dungeons. Zelda dungeons are on a whole nother level. Sometimes they be trippy as hell. Elden Ring is good, but Zelda is even better when it comes to dungeons, that is. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of things that can be done. Jump quests, puzzles, fun things with the environment, moving stuff around in order to be able to get to a certain location, in order to activate a button that makes the other location activate the bridge that you need to go to the other side for. There's a lot of things you can really do. A lot of elemental implementations. Dungeons is very vast. There's a lot you can do with dungeons. I don't really want it to just be you go inside one dungeon, you defeat a bunch of mobs, move on to the next room, defeat a bunch of mobs, move on to the next room, defeat a bunch of mobs, and then you have to fight a boss and you get some drops. Yeah, that's fun for the first couple hours, but it's just doing what GPO is doing, and we all know how repetitive that can actually get. We need it to be a bit creative. As well as that, Layer 2, I feel like should bring in a whole bunch of new mobs. And when I say new mobs, I want them to be Elden Ring style, as in whatever that mob has, you can get. So if it has a unique style of armor, if you beat that mob, you can get that style of armor, or maybe it's an armor style, only that type of mob drops, like the Shaco gear or the Shaco coats or whatever you want to call them. If that, just like Enforcer, if that mob uses a certain type of new weapon, you should be able to, it should have a chance of dropping that weapon. I don't feel like it should just be, oh, there's a bunch of new weapons and you can find them in chests. That's kind of really vague and leaves getting that new weapon up to some stupid RNG loot pool chances. How about this mob, this specific mob is using this weapon, and you are able to kill this mob and you have a chance of getting that weapon. At least this way people know, okay, if I fight this boss enough times, we have a chance of getting this weapon, and we have a chance of getting this weapon with 2 or 3 stars, and we have a chance of getting this weapon enchanted. It gives initiative for people to actually replay that dungeon. Same with the gear, you could get enchanted or starred gear. It's genuinely a good addition, it's a good move. Now with Elden Ring, mobs have specific attack patterns, etc. Now all the mobs in Deepwoken already have attack patterns, so that really isn't an issue and doesn't really need to be discussed upon. So again, let's move on. And the last thing I really have to talk about is Layer 2 exploration. Now, the way they made it look is that Layer 2 will only be dungeon based, and people can invade your instance, dungeon instance, or something along those lines. I'ma assume it's an instance so that it's separate from the rest of the game. That way, just like Trial of 1, you don't just lag, like everybody gets stable ping when they're doing Trial of 1. I would assume it's something similar to the dungeons, but I kind of want it to be Layer 2 is its own place. You're able to explore, not very similar to Layer 1, different, but cool. Again, if it's taken from Made in the Abyss, which is clearly a big inspiration from the way the depths works, I feel like the layer should be more intuitive. You know, it has its own system, it has its own, it's kind of like overworld but depths version. You can explore, and there's certain areas where you go in order to get put into the dungeon instance, and you have to actually get there in order to go to dungeons. Again, we don't know how this is gonna work, and I mean shit, all we can really do is wait and pray. If we're gonna do this Made in the Abyss style, in Made in the Abyss, the further down you go, the worse effects it has on your body. Like, to the point, if you cannot go all the way down to Layer 8 and just go straight back up to the surface, because the effects it'll have on your body is crazy. You could literally die. Like, you can genuinely die. So it would be nice if when you go down to Layer 2, when you're trying to go back up to the surface, it has an effect on the body, or maybe you have some sort of debuff for a certain amount of time. I'm not too sure how they'll do it. This is a perfect chance to make the drown gear, you know, kind of useful. There's a lot. There is a lot that can happen. Maybe once you're in Layer 2, the effects of going insane is like doubled. So willpower is going to be important in people's builds, because a lot of people just skip out on willpower. But again, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. There's actually a lot of things they could do with Layer 2, and I don't know, I guess we just gotta sit with our hands clutched and hope for the best. Honestly, I hope they make this really nice. Now, Layer 2 is most likely going to be end game content, and I do need to say this. If it is end game content, level 60, I do feel like there should be a slight level cap. Maybe, I don't know, going up to 70 or even 75. Now, the reason I say this is so that end game players actually have something to do. Maybe upgrade their builds a little bit, have a chance of getting new bells. I don't know, because you know you're level 60, you can't re-roll anymore. Maybe you can get one more re-roll, etc. It would be nice if there was, you know, higher level cap. It gives more of a reason for people to play the game just a little bit more as well. It makes it so that, like, being a max level going into Layer 2 is kind of underwhelming, because it's like, okay, I really already got everything. All there is to the game now is new gear. It would be really cool if, I don't know, maybe you got new stuff, you're able to level a little bit more, upgrade your build a little bit more, stuff along those lines. Again, I doubt that's gonna happen, but it would be nice if the level cap just increased, not by much, by a little bit. We've been level 60 for 3 months, and there's been no real content for max level players. Once you reach max level, there's genuinely nothing to do in the game. The same issue GPO had. Literally, it's just deja vu. Let's have a little bit more content for the max level guys. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna see y'all boys in the next one. If you made it to the end of the video, revolver effect in the comment section down below. Peace.
You the breath and touch the sky. Take a deep breath, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. Let it go, let it out, let it go, let it out.